And it is transfer deadline day. We're doing it a little bit before the final deadline. But again, so much information to go in. Today it's just gone crazy over the last few days. But got with Mark back in. Mark, thanks for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm enjoying the drama of transfer deadline days. Not lots going on for us in terms of incomings, but potentially a few outgoings today, isn't there? But there's lots going in and around the divisions.
Yep, exactly. There's quite a few coming on, and we might as well start with the main incoming. So kind of the where we are at the moment. Looks like I've started calling him Tom Cannon, who's going to be coming into the squad. Looks like there's been quite a few rumours. It heated up literally in the last 24 hours. Um, I don't know if you know anything about him or what have you seen about him already.
Well, I know that he had a loan last season at Preston, and Preston were desperate to get him back this season. In fact, they thought that they'd got him back. They thought that an agreement had been reached, and obviously they've changed their mind now. Everton, they need some funds. It's a bit of a strange one because you look at Everton, you think if you've got a highly talented young player, why not play him? Because they're a bit sort of lackluster up front. But no, he looks quite an exciting player, one for the future. But could definitely add something this year as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got again Owen Palmer. I'm with you again. There's some Owen Palmer in here as well. So for about 6 million, I think from what I've heard, it's been or from what I've read from Twitter, which doesn't mean a lot. But 6 million with a £1.5 million increase. From what we've heard, again, he seems like quite a highly rated talent. He's coming into the first team, and something that Enzo mentioned just in his press conference, which I didn't click as well. It's it's AFCON this year. So if we have the strikers that we do have, it means we're only left with Jamie Vardy. And I think that's probably one of the reasons. But in terms of strikers, it's something that I didn't think they're getting, especially towards the end of this, with anyone coming out at the moment.
Yeah, I think Daka will potentially go. I'd be surprised if he didn't turn up at a Premier League club come the end of the window tonight, because there's still plenty of Premier League clubs looking for a striker. You look at Crystal Palace, Wolves, Bournemouth, all looking to do business. And you can see some of our guys being the backups for that. So I think Leicester are doing the Cannon deal with the knowledge that we're probably going to lose Patson Daka, but he's not part of the plans anyway. What's going to be really interesting is some of these guys that we're told weren't part of the plans will still be here at the end of the window. What happens with those guys then?
Yeah, exactly. And we will get on to some of those as well. What was it called? Scott's in the chat. So afternoon, Scott. Hope you're well. It seems like we've got another one again. It seems Daka gets a move before 11 p.m. Again, that's what we're going to come on to in a second, because today there's been all sorts. We'll come on to in a second. And you're like Tom, just again discussing him at the moment. But yeah, so at the moment it looks like there's nothing complete as of yet. But it reminds me this time last year it was similar with Walt Fast, where there was nothing for the entire window. And then when it came to the end, I think deadline day, the day before, it was just this name came out of nowhere, and we just got the deal done within 24 hours. It seems like the similar kind of thing here.
Yeah, it does. It was quite a new name this time yesterday, wasn't it? There was other teams that were rumoured to be chasing, but yeah, all of a sudden it was a done deal with Leicester. So the latest news is that the medical was allegedly complete. I've seen that from various sources online, and we just wait now for a here we go and final announcement.
Yeah, exactly. And just to find again, hopefully before again, no more Adrian Silvers, please. Before the deadline will be lovely. Even though that feels like a fair few years ago now. But yeah, there's again sources that are coming out saying it's completed medical, and announcement hopefully should be soon as well. Just coming into again another one. So again, Fatawu as well. Again, coming. Well, we'll get into that in a second. But another sign that we've not mentioned, just signed yesterday. I don't know what you've made of him or what you've seen of him as well, because he is. It looks like a talent, but again, very raw.
That's exactly the right word, Neil. He's a raw talent, but he's a talent nevertheless. And does he strengthen our winger options? I would absolutely say that he does. He's got a powerful left foot, a powerful player, and he give us something different to Adkun and Mavadidi on the other side. And we've still got the two young lads in Marcel and McAteer as well. So we've gone from having no wingers to having quite a few wingers quite quickly. But I'm looking forward to Fatawu and seeing how he plays.
Yeah, we've got his pronunciation right from the last time as well. And also, it's just something that in terms of his role and what he's going to do. So, guys, he's very quick, good on one-on-ones, born 2004, but he still needs some time. But hopefully he'll get the time. So he'll going to help us. So I think this is the one where I've got a feeling that, like a lot of our signings this season, Enzo's a massive factor of that. And again, I think he mentioned in the interview when he was doing it yesterday on Leicester City, the official channel, he was mentioning about this is the project for him. I think he fell out of favour at Sporting Prague, Sporting Portugal, Sporting Portugal. But again, it's the right kind of player that we're given the opportunity to thrive. And also, there's a lot of as you were saying, there's a lot of competition for places at the moment.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the loan with the option to buy is obviously if he's successful and we go up, then we can see us utilising that. Quick word. I mean, how can he be born in 2004? I'm getting old, man, very, very quickly. Can't believe we've got players in the first team now from 2004. So it's a crazy world we're living in. But no, it's an exciting signing. You say he fell out of favour at Sporting. He was never really in favour as such. He's only played 6 games for their senior side. He was sent out on loan. But back in Ghana before he signed for Sporting, he was scoring goals almost at a goal a game for the side he was playing at before he went to Sporting.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the exact name of it. Steadfast, I think, from what I've briefly read. Again, it's all come at me super quick. Even though that signing was Steadfast, and so he went from there to Sports Prague, and then the reason what I've heard as well why we're doing these deals this way is because him and Yunus Akgun both have mandatory clauses if they pay X amount of games. The reason why is because we're close on FFP at the moment, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've not seen probably more incomings.
Yeah, I think so. It's a tight line still, isn't it, with FFP? Unless you're, of course, Chelsea. Mind you, they're selling there. I've seen that. Is it Matson at Chelsea? Is on his way to Burnley for 30 odd million. How are Burnley spending 30 million on a Chelsea reserve player at this close to the deadline? It's the transfer window is mad this year. There's some sides. I think Bournemouth. Is it Brentford? Sorry. Looking to spend £40 million on a player, and so there's a lot of money going about. We've just got to be a little bit careful. And I think the money that we've brought in through the Maddison and Barnes and it was the other one that went out for a bit of money.
Just them two, really.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh, Hurst was the other one, wasn't he? Not very much.
Yeah.
It was about
in comparison.
That keeps FFP at bay a little bit, but we just need to be careful. I think out of all the loan players that we've signed, if we could have signed any permanently, it would have to been Callum Doyle. Castagna, yeah, thank you.
That was it. Yeah, thanks, Scott. But yeah, because Castagna was that player. But again, so it's keeping the checks and balances just about right. As you probably saw, they're coming in and they're coming out as well. So I think I know nothing about FFP apart from you get in trouble if you get close to it. But apparently the 3-year window or something is coming up to next year. So again, hopefully if we come back into the Prem, it really relieves us of some information as well.
You look at what some of the other sides are spending, Neil. Like Forest are spending a lot of money, aren't they? I know they're going to get 45 million in for Johnson, but there's a hell of a lot of money being spent, and you wonder how some of these sides can sort of stay under it. But it must be because of the 3-year window, like you say.
Exactly. So, but it's also, I think, some of these sides you mentioned, like the Burnleys and the Brentfords, they're so used to the Championship where now they've got big money. They're like, brilliant, but I'm glad we haven't done that because you can, as we know, as quick as you can go up, you can come slamming back down as well. And it's just the money in the Premier League potential, pretty much.
Yeah, some of the transfer windows that some of these sides are having at the minute makes me regret the ones that we had even more when we were 5th in the league, when we had a real opportunity to push on and we didn't. But that's probably for another time and not for today. Today's about looking ahead, isn't it? It's about understanding who's going to be off the wage bill at the end of the day and also any new exciting signings. So, yeah, going back to Tom Cannon, looking forward to him coming in.
Me as well. And again, speaking of you're right again, Brighton and Fatty, they're coming in. It's just like phenomenal signing for them. And again, we didn't capitalise on that. But you're right again. We'll probably talk about that when the transfer window's over. And because again, there's a load of stuff at the moment. But a couple of deals as well that have just helped since we've last spoke. Couple of ones. One bit of a strange one. Zach Booth going to LC Volderdam in the top of the he's not
in Harry Potter deal.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he's got hair like Harry Potter, like it's a Harry Potter character as well. But again, one of our starlets from the youth academy. The fact that he's gone, I've had to Google it before we came live. He's gone into the first. We've gone from 19 years old into the first stage of the first league of Dutch football as well. So I'm surprised at the move, but again, it's come out of absolute nowhere. Because, to be honest, a lot of us don't know. I know he scored a couple of weeks ago, but must be a good sign.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I think the more exposure that players at that level can go and get is going to benefit them in the long term. He looks a player, by the way, from what I've seen of him so far. So, is it? I didn't realise they were in the top division. I thought they were the second division in Holland. Are they top division? Are they?
So Wikipedia, as the best source in the world, has said, yeah, they are. They play in Eredivisie in the top tier of Dutch football,
Wow.
following promotion. So they've promoted promoted last season.
Fantastic. That's brilliant for his development then, really, isn't it? And it's good to see a player having no fear about going out to a different country on loan like that. So wish him all the best and hope that he comes back with the guy from Leuven next season at Apoku.
Yeah. Again, another player that we're really looking forward to, because he's gone back on loan, and especially with the striking options at the moment, it's looking fierce. But that's what the academy's for as well, just giving the option to go out. One of the players we got again Luke. So again, appreciate Luke as well. Make sure you go subscribe again. The Foxes Leicester City Down Under, really good channel. He's going to hit 100 subscribers soon. Really nice lad as well. Saying about, I don't know if you saw this as well. Pratt is out for 10 to 12 weeks. With a back injury, where it looks like a little bit of a pivot, but we might as well cover that there as well. So, don't know if you got any thoughts on that as well.
Well, it rules him out of his customary deadline day move to Torino, doesn't it, or somewhere else in Serie A? So,
Every single window,
all it would have been a loan somewhere anyway. So it keeps him in around the squad. Something I'd be interested in, if someone's out for 3 months and we're in September now, is it worth registering him as part of the squad? It's going to depend on spaces, because if it comes to between him and a Harry Souttar, let's say, you'd rather carry the extra centre back and get him in the squad. So unfortunate for Pratt. Don't know what they're doing at Seagrave. It literally is a grave, isn't it? In there, it's this bizarre goings on. But yeah, it's not good to have him injured for so long.
Yeah, it's not, again, compared to what we did have, obviously it's less, but it's like Seagrave Infirmary, isn't it, at times, just with the amount of players were injured. Then coming into the other one, again, coming into back to the comments, Neil, usually our business, always keep our close cards to our chest. I think it used to be that way, Mark. A lot of it used to be our business was guard, but since, I wouldn't say we've won the league or a couple of years afterwards, the names have really started to roll off the tongue, where we didn't know who was coming in when. Now, maybe it's because of Twitter, I use it more, or just in general, there's more knowledgeable news sites. The news is more, you get more reliable sources earlier before we see them announced.
Yeah, I can't remember the last transfer that really came out of the blue and took us by surprise. I had heard, and this is just say again.
Cambiasso?
Yeah, potentially. I had heard at one point today, and it's from someone that I speak to occasionally. It's got a bit of stuff right, that there was Championship clubs looking at Dele Alli, and I wondered if one of them might have been Leicester to fill in the sort of attacking midfielder. Whether we'd want him or not is a different story, but something like that would be completely out of the blue this late in the window. You wouldn't put it past them, would you? But no, historically, Leicester like to do their business quietly and with the cards close to their chest.
Yeah, you're right. Again, we do. Well, they're becoming more and more loud. Even like for Richie Romano, every single transfer so far that Leicester have done and potentially the ones that like Wilfred and Diddy, we'll move on to him as well. Looks like that moves off actually as well. So there's lots of this week. There was to Forest, which I'm so glad. There was Bayern Munich, which I was like, if he goes to Bayern Munich, fair enough. But I'm so glad he's not going Forest. And I think you were the one people go, look, if we can get money for him, get him out, and then get in the replacement. But how are you feeling now?
I think he's had a good start to the season overall. He's been asked to play in a different role to what he's natural at, isn't he? So he's been asked to get forward and contribute in the final third, and that's not really his game. But I'd be disappointed to see him go to Forest if he went. That's mainly because I'm from Roughborough, so how I feel about Forest is sort of ingrained in me. But if it's meant to be and the money's there for him, then I could see us accepting a deal. I don't think it's over on that front at the moment as well. I could see something happening fairly late on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, potentially. And it's coming down to the wire in terms of that, but it looks like Forest are going after Sanagre or Sangari or something, the one that we were interested in the year after we beat the PSV in the Cup. But
be a great signing.
Yeah, and think he's going to be the replacement for Ndidi. So they're probably going to go after one and not the other in terms of that. And it looks like they're closing in on him. Then just a couple of other ones. So in terms of that, yeah, Ndidi's not happening. Samore, he's been completely froze out of the squad. Well, as I think personally from what I've heard as well, he doesn't really want to play. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But Samore could be another example of how do we fit him back into the squad, because there's been radio silence for what feels like quite a while now.
There has. The big problem with Samori is his wage that he's on. He's on probably about £80,000 a week, allegedly. And that's a lot for someone to cover even on a loan, because you're asking what type of club's going to come in and get him. It's probably not going to be a Premier League side, which would negate that issue with wages. It's probably going to be a French team or an Italian team that would come in. And those wages are high. And, if we're sending him out on loan, we don't really want to be paying a massive portion of his wages. So I think that's probably where the issue is. I think it's a real shame that window that we had when we signed him, Daka, Bertrand, Vestergaard. What a disaster of a window that was, really. There's probably a player in there somewhere that will do a good job, but not for Leicester.
It's just Brendan Rodgers' talent ID is just, well, the thing is that, as you mentioned, in Samore and Daka, you can tell there's a good player in there, but Brendan thought he could do things that he blatantly couldn't, especially in the last couple of years. And that was where we didn't. And I think that season we didn't sell anyone either. I want to think we didn't sell a single player. Might have been a couple.
No, that was the season we didn't, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was the build on, and it just went even worse than before. And speaking of other, again, I can't believe that we again got the current player, another player, Luke Thomas. I know that you put it in the comments, Luke, at the moment. Luke Thomas has gone to the Premiership with Sheffield. I mean, when the few was announced, I think Leeds were the ones interested, because Farker likes attacking left backs, attacking full backs. However, Leicester City wanted to not strengthen a direct rival, but the fact that he's gone to we're loaning to the Premier League, it's pretty impressive in my opinion, even for a young player.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that he came out afterwards, saying he'd been looking to leave all sort of summer, and that he intimated really that he couldn't wait to get out of Leicester, which didn't strike me as something that a Leicester lad through and through should be coming out saying. His move is a blinding move for him. He was third or fourth choice left back for us until we got rid of all of our fullbacks in the last couple of days. We've had like a fire sale on fullbacks, haven't we? They've literally all gone. But Thomas was down the bottom of that pecking order. So that move for him, where he's likely to get first team football back in the Premier League, is a great move for him. And I'm pleased that he didn't go to Leeds, because that would have been strengthening a rival, whether you think he's great or not. It's another number, because Leeds' weak point really at the moment is at fullback. I know they've signed Jed Spence, but their left-sided of their defence is not strong.
Yeah, and exactly. And if there was an option of, it's a good move, the fact that they didn't loan us again to another player, because another Championship team, and yes, they're eligible to play against us. However, we're still strengthening them for the majority of the season, which is what we want to do as well. So there was, again, in terms of Luke, again, he's gone on loan. Christensen, another one. The three that signed in January, just in Tete had one game of amazingness, dropped off a cliff. Suter, again, frozen. It looks like, I'll bring up here now on Suter, but it looks like they were trying to shift him on in order. So Rob Tanner's mentioned this as well.
He's not going
on. Yeah. Is not happening, which is why Leicester City, who were favourites from what I've heard as well, to pursue Harwood Bellis, who I think would have been fantastic, but they couldn't get Suter out the squad. Again, it's not happening. So him, and then Christensen, that window again. Brendan Rodgers' talent ID, shocking once again, as kind of the theme of this one. We're all talking about a previous manager, but the amount of what went wrong in that season.
Yeah, it was a poor window, and there were panic buys. But I think there's a player in there again for Suter. I think he definitely could do a job in the Championship. You look at him at Stoke last season, he was one of the best defenders in the division. I like him. I think he's not a bad player at all, but he doesn't quite fit the Enzo way, does he? But I'd expect if we're going to reintroduce anyone to the squad after this transfer deadline, I would expect it to be Harry Suter, who would come in and play understudy to Wout Faes and Yannick Vestergaard. Who would have thought would have been saying that a couple of months ago? That Vestergaard was first choice. But Connor Cody's back soon as well. So, yeah, I think Harry Suter will end up being the fourth centre-back, at least until January. It doesn't look like he's on his way out.
No, I'm with you. And I think if there is injuries, and we will, when we're playing twice a week, we'll need other players. And I think the fact that even recently, if we will be introduced back, I think Nelson was a player that I think got run out a little bit when James Justin came down. But as you were going to mention before, I was going to mention we've gone from fullbacks, which was our strongest area in terms of strength and depth, to now I think wingers is pretty much our strongest area in strength and depth, which is pretty much amazing because it was the other way around at the beginning of the window.
Yeah, there's no point having loads of fullbacks if you don't play with fullbacks, though, is there? So, you know, and he doesn't, because you can't really say that Callum Doyle plays as fullback because he slots into a back three when we've got the ball, which is the majority of the time. And then Ricardo, my worry is if Ricardo and Justin get injured now, where do we go from this point? Because they're both made of glass as it is. So we're going to be a little bit short in that sort of area. But, you know, I think Hamza Chowdhury is probably the preferred backup option there, which is a bit wild as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's speaking of, normally I'd associate Hamza with Wild. He's actually looked quite, I wouldn't say he's looked like, oh, he's going to start every week, but he's looked quite controlled in my opinion. And he's come on, he's done the job, he knows what he needs to do, and he's looked older than his years at times.
He's getting on a bit now, Neil. He's probably about 26, isn't he?
Yeah, 25, 26.
He's not,
so
not a young kid. Yeah. It's like Dewsbury Hall. People talk about him like he's a youth, and he's not. He's in his prime now. He should be. I got asked a question on a different stream the other night. Could he be the best player in the Championship this season? And he absolutely could. But he was rotten against Rotherham last weekend as well. So we need a bit of consistency from the midfield, and I think we'll get that with Cassidy coming in there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also with, I think as well, because of the wingers that are coming in, potentially Casey McAteer can play that position number 8. It's not ideal, but I've got a feeling that they might move him inside because he can play with either foot, he can play either wing. We've got flexibility in the squad, and Enzo likes a player that can play multiple positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on.
Yeah. So we'll have to see again. We've still got, again, a couple of weeks' time. I think it starts going to 2 or 3 two games a week, but we've got the international break, but getting back into that. Sorry, going to say something.
No, carry on.
The next one again, Iheanacho being out of contract at the end of the window. Yeah, indeed he's out of contract, but also he's playing, and also same with Iheanacho. So both of them are actually playing. So I think Iheanacho's contract's been rumoured. Ndidi, I've got a feeling that he'll run. If it's going to be one or two, it's going to be probably Iheanacho who's going to get the contract out of the two of them.
Yeah, we don't particularly want to lose everyone on a free like we did last year. So I think if they're not going to sign, we need to look at January as the time to get rid of those, even for cut price. If you got 10 million for Iheanacho in January and could replace him properly. Now, someone else had put in the chat around, am I concerned about us losing Iheanacho? I think it'd be a disaster at this stage now if we lost Iheanacho. It'd be a real problem for us because we just don't have any time to replace properly, because you can't say to Tom Cannon, right, you're now the number one striker at Leicester City, having played 20 games in the Championship for Preston. So, I wouldn't want to lose Kelechi Iheanacho at this stage now, but maybe in January, if he doesn't sign a deal, that's the right time to go.
Yeah, and again, there's the opportunity, and it's not like a window. They can sign a deal at any time as well. So you can sign a deal afterwards, and I think it'll be based upon who is here at the end of the window, and potentially a contract. We'll have to see in terms of that, because there's so many other things to mention as well. Another player that was rumoured yesterday, James McAtee, not coming now. Again, he's going over again to Sheffield United as well. It was a rumour that was kind of spreading, but again, he's gone over now. He's went with them before. Potentially could have played number 8, but again, that one's done now.
Yep. I don't think it was ever a starter for us, to be honest. I think there was some rumour about him going to the training ground yesterday. I don't know how true that was, but I don't think we were ever close to signing James McAtee.
No. So I think that's everything there. And I think that's pretty much everybody. And again, Pratt's out with an injury. Connor Cody looks like he's coming back into the squad after the internet. He might be ready for this weekend, but he's going to be coming in after the international break. But I mean, our squad is strong as it is, our starting 11. Adding Cody to that only makes it stronger, not just in terms of physically, but I think in terms of the mentality and how loud Cody is, because I've been so impressed with how he's been talking and his off the field actions as a leader as well. He's been fantastic.
Yeah, he is. He's a leader, isn't he? But he's paid to play football for Leicester City, and we haven't seen him do that as yet, unfortunately. So I'm looking forward to him being in the side. I think he makes us a stronger 11. I think he comes in for Vestergaard straight away and improves the defence. So yeah, looking forward to that. Good signing.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's a good sign as well. And just coming into just sort of Yeti Boy again, shout out, thanks Yeti Boy for that one. Out of the 18 players Rod has signed, 4 of them play currently, and we only made profit on 1 player. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the only one, it's 4 who at the moment signed. I'm trying to think now. Vestergaard, Fars. Who are the other ones? Ricardo was that was
Ricardo was pre. Ricardo was pre. Rogers, wasn't he?
But it must be Suter being one of them technically, and then technically Daka, or Samore and Daka are still there as well. But it's god awful. But look, we need to rebuild now. I think that's the thing is, the only one that was there was again that season was Lookman, and then he ended up going as part of that as well. So I mean that's pretty much everything. Yes, we've got a good point. If Dor gets injured, who do we play? I mean, the only thing I can think is James Justin in that position potentially.
Justin could potentially go over, couldn't he?
Mm-hmm. So
we are light in those areas, though. You know, I'm laughing as I say it, but knowing our sort of fullbacks that we're talking about, you have to breathe on them, and they're out for 6 months. So we have to be a little bit careful with them. I think we have to rotate them where we can. I can't see Ricardo starting 46 games because I think he would struggle with that massively. So I can see Hamza Chowdhury getting a bit of a run out. I don't know if there's any sort of young players that are coming through that might get a game there as well.
Potentially Ben Nelson, who came on for James Justin.
Is it Wormleyson or something like that?
Oh, Wormlington. Yeah, I don't really know too much about him, to be honest with you. But it could be an option as well. Just refreshing Leicester just to check if there's nothing. There is nothing else. The only other one is just this one here, which is, I think we mentioned it in passing, Patson Daka. So I've seen 3 different clubs interested in him. It looked like he was going to, I think, AC Milan or Inter Milan. That one fell apart. Italian clubs just useless and tight. I've seen Bournemouth again. Bournemouth is still interested, and the only one we've got is Wolves and then potentially Wolves as well that are interested in a striker. So I don't know if your thoughts on any Patson Daka rooms, because with Cannon coming in, it looks like Daka's going out the door.
Well, you'd hope so. I think the problem is we're not going to get any money in for him in this window. It would only be a loan with probably an option at best. And that would rely on him going out to really perform well to get that sort of move permanently done in the summer or in January or whenever that might be. But it's a shame. Patson Daka again. I think there's probably, I keep saying it, a player in there, but it's just not meant to be at Leicester, and sometimes it doesn't work out at certain clubs. And he came with a big reputation. He was keeping Haaland out of the Salzburg team, wasn't he, at one stage? It's incredible to think that. But yeah, I hope he gets his move, and I hope he does well in the Premier League for whoever he plays for. I think Wolves have really made a mistake not going after Kelechi Iheanacho. I think he would have suited their system perfectly, but we'll keep that one under wraps until the end of the window.
Yep, until he signs a new contract, and then we can chat about it as loud as possible then. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. I mean, coming into the squad, looking at the team at the moment, so we've got the men's team. What's quite interesting is that look at the number of forwards. We've never had this many. So we've got, again, Mavididi, in. So again, new this season, obviously, Fatawu, Mavididi, again, Yunus Akgun is there, Jimmy Vardy. I mean, we're looking pretty stacked up front, aren't we?
Yeah, and Mavididi could, of course, play as a false nine if we need him to. Some of those are out and out wingers, aren't they? But yeah, it's looking quite healthy.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit too healthy in places.
Yeah.
It'd be good to see that trimmed down by a Patson Daka shaped hole.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And then just coming into the midfield again, I don't think we can get just in terms of that as well. So you would see. So we've got again Cassadai, Winks, Albrighton, Chowdhury, Dewsbury Hall, Samore, Ndidi, Pratt, McAteer, and Marcel both make the first team now as well. So again, there's a mixture of again experience there in terms of like you likes of Winks, some Brighton, potentially even like Ndidi and Pratt now as well, and then a nice bridge of like younger players as well.
Yeah, it's still a big squad, isn't it? And you'd look at that and say it's probably slightly too big, and there's faces in there that I think Enzo would have preferred not to have been here by this stage in the window. I'm looking at Samara and maybe even Pratt as well as part of that. But there's some real talent in there as well. Harry Winks orchestrating, playing the balls through to Cassadai, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, making their forward runs. Wilfred Ndidi on the right wing and scoring and creating like prime Kaka. You love to see it, but it's a good squad. It's a strong squad, and it's a squad that should be up near the top of the championship. I'm getting frustrated for seeing fans of other clubs saying unconvincing Leicester City are top of the league at the minute. We're top of the league because we've had the mental strength to win those games, and we deserve to be top of the league. And it's going to be another big test tomorrow.
And we've won. I mean, that's what you want at the end of the day. You want to win your football games, and that's what we've done. And we've been the most convincing team in the championship so far. And then coming on to defender, well, look at the goalkeepers. Five. We'll get on them in a second.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just looking at five of that. That's so strange. Then again, looking at defenders, obviously Suter there, Doyle, Cody, Fast, James Justin. Then we've got Ricardo, Yannick, and again, even Pereira is technically a fullback as well. Can play in there. Ben Nelson gets the first team shirt as well, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, good. He's highly rated, isn't he? Big lad, quite mobile compared to some of the other centre backs that we've got. So I think he's got quite a big future ahead of him. I think we'd have probably expect him to go out on loan at some point this season and make a bit of a difference there. But he might well be needed for the he might well be needed for the first team at some point this season.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. And I think they wouldn't have let him go and Brunt go because Brunt was another one kind of in a similar position to him. He was on the bench a couple of times. So
he's got to a low level though, Brunt, isn't he?
Yeah, League Two, I think.
Yeah, it's a Mansfield in League Two. So yeah, a bit surprised by that one. I thought he might get a League One loan and ply his trade there.
And then, and you're right. And then again, this is one area where it's been completely silent. Goalkeepers. For again, Alex Smithies, I think, is at the end of the year. Contract expires. Game signed under Rogers. Danny Ward was another one. No, was Danny Ward under? No, he was under Puel, I think, wasn't he?
Was he? He's out of contract at the end of the season, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's out of contract. Danny Liveson, I'm not sure. But I think the main two we're going to be looking at is probably Hermansen and Stolarczyk, probably as the season's gone so far, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And just a word on Stolarczyk. He's played 3 games and kept 3 clean sheets. And you can't underestimate what that would do to a young player's confidence. So I know 2 of them are against Tranmere and Burton, but he's coming and he's done quite a good job quite quickly and established himself as the number 2. Enzo clearly trusts him. Mads Hermansen, though, I really, really like Mads. I think he's probably one of the best ball playing goalkeepers that I've seen in terms of the way he is with the. He'll definitely cock up on Saturday now and cost us a goal, and then you'll replay this. But he's a really sort of stylish goalkeeper, isn't he? And I look forward to watching him again tomorrow.
I think he'll be really good for us, and his leadership as well. For somebody that's 23, he commands the box, he talks the back line, he can play a ball out really impressively as well. And I think he's been, again, as you were mentioning, really impressive, I think. So that's pretty much it. So in general, I think the amount of players that left, I think we're up to about 11 now. And we've got with Cannon coming in, we're up to about 9. So that's a lot of it. That's nearly half the squad in terms of ins and outs. How do you think there's? Would you rate the window on 1 to 10? What would you say?
Uh, I think it's been a good window. I think you'd have to, at the minute, put it at solid 8 or so. I think the only way it would have been any better is if we'd have signed another midfielder who could have played as an 8. Maybe Ilias Chair is one that was mentioned quite a few times. Creative individual, someone that can take a man on and produce chances. Whereas our players are slightly more. Well, you've got Casadet's more dynamic and. Dewsbury Hall, who's a little bit more sort of talismanic in terms of his runs and stuff like that. So I would have preferred a midfielder to come in and then probably another centre-back, and that would have made it a 10. But, yeah, it's definitely a strong 8. I've been really impressed with the new guys. I think Akgun was impressive as well against Tranmere when he came on. I know he missed a bit of a sitter, but he's going to give us something different that we've not had in this opening 6 games, which have gone particularly well, haven't they?
Yeah, they couldn't have gone better, really. In terms of results, they couldn't have gone better. And I think overall, you're right. I think looking at the players we've signed in, kind of Casadei, I think has been, again, he's got a goal and assist, and he's looking like a real Rolls Royce of the game.
He's going to be a class above now. Yeah, he'll be a class above the rest of the Championship this season. That's why I see Leeds fans talking about, we've got the best defence, we've got the best midfield, we've got the best this, the best that. And I look down the table and they've got like 5 points so far. I look at Casadei and Winks and Dewsbury Hall, and I think that's the best midfield. And then you bring Connor Cody back into the defence, and you think that defence you wouldn't swap that for any other defence. I would say Leeds' attack is particularly strong, but they're going to concede a lot of goals as well. So it's exciting, isn't it? I'm quite excited by the Championship this year.
Me too. I'm really excited. And I think you're right as well. And I think another lone player that's kind of, I wouldn't say going under the radar, but has really come into his own recently is Callum Doyle. I think he's I agree with you, but I think I want to put Callum Doyle in that conversation as well, because for a young player, how he performs and his confidence, just go, yeah, I'll get a ball in there, bang, or the ball against the Casey McAteer. What a ball that was. And it was, I wouldn't say people underrate it, but I'd say Leicester fans, Casey, great goal, great to get against, but the ball from Doyle, especially in that second goal, was just sublime.
It was unreal, yeah. And I think we may well regret not signing Callum Doyle permanently when we had the chance at the beginning of this season. I think it was 8 million quid Man City were after. I'd be surprised if it's not a bit more than that come the end of the season if he keeps playing the way that he's playing at the minute. He's a real talent. I really like him. Really, really like him.
I do as well. And just again, it's don't fall in love with a lone player, but hopefully this puts him in prime position. It puts him in prime position to sign him. But if we're not going after Harwood Bellis, who again, for me, if we got Harwood Bellis and Chair and we got potentially Ndidi out or like Samore out, and that, I think it would have booked up to a 10 out of 10 window.
Yeah, I agree.
Bellis as well.
So, I agree.
Yeah, so pretty much that's it. Again, Mark, again, thanks everyone for joining. I think that's everything, but feel free to plug away as well.
Can I do a shout out before I finish? We're going to do a live stream tonight. We don't ever do lives we do it on our Twitter page. It's 11, it's 7 for Jamie Vardy. Come and join us for that. We're going to talk about all of the incomings, the outgoings, similar stuff that we've just spoke about tonight. But we're going to do it with a beer in our hand, get a bit tipsy, and love life with it, really.
Sounds good. Is that a Twitter space or is that just a live stream as well?
It's a live stream as well, but it's going to be through the Twitter page.
Cool. Sounds good. So yeah, make sure you check into Mark. It's Mark Mandelfield on Twitter. I'll put his link down below as well. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you all, well, for the whole game, because we've not even spoke about that, but there's so much going on at the moment, isn't there, Mark?
Yeah, there is. I'm looking forward to tomorrow though. Just need to make sure that the antics of this evening don't get in the way of it.
Just nice beer in hand. You'll be fine with a hangover tomorrow. See you later. Goodbye.
See you in a bit.